Chapter 18. Tuesday, midnight. Bumps in the night. I dropped on one knee to the floor, crouching behind the island. It occurred to me that I was spending a lot of time hiding in kitchens. In my old digs, standing up, I filled the entire kitchen. In my new digs, all of Weeble's men and Nicky's crew could have been on the other side of the island with their girlfriends and wives. My heart ignored me when I told it to stop pounding so I could listen. Later, I learned that, in old castles, things go bump in the night, then continue to make a racket all damn day. And when the wind blows, everything rattles, and the rattles echo everywhere. But at that moment, it sounded like an army was clumsily sneaking up on me. When they didn't appear over the edge of the island counter to leer down at me, I slowly peeked over the island. When no one shot me between the eyes, I straightened. Through the bay windows of what Gabriella would have called a kitchen nook, and I would have called a spare room, no light shone in the neighborhood. The power was out. Feeling foolish, I returned to the darkness filled with bumps, thumps, creaks, rattles, drafts of cold air, and moans. Only it was not pitch darkness. It was as though I was standing in the middle of a movie in an earlier era. As the light from the storm, which had moved to the south, flickered through the windows, colorless effigies shape-shifted around me, leaving only a taste of their presence. The sight of an old man with long, shaggy hair sitting at the massive round table, his back to the windows, was brushed aside by a pixie face peering through the banisters on the Titanic snaked stairway, which, a heartbeat later, was replaced by a hand reaching around the corner. I don't know how long I stood there, afraid to move and nowhere to run anyway. When I reached a hand out for support, it came down on the packet that Riley had left for me, and Larry had examined on his way out. In it was something more than paper, heavy and hard. Without looking, I fumbled a hand inside and pulled out Larry's spare pistol, the Beretta 380 he carried in an ankle holster. Larry had left it for me to save my life. What it did was keep me from wetting my pants. Holding my newfound courage in one hand while using the other to feel my way, I stiff-walked into the hallway to the bedroom with the desperately needed, fabulous bathroom. Outside, the storm again materialized directly over the house, and the flickering movie abruptly stopped. I found myself either in total darkness or stark white light. I looked to the end of the hallway and froze. A faint glow seemed to ooze from the last doorway on the left. My locked knees trembled. Drops of sweat trickled down my forehead to find their way to my eyes. I wiped my brow slowly, moving in jerks each time the lightning lit up the hallway. Realizing I had not chambered around, I took a moment to do so with shaking hands. Afraid to look down and check if I was locked and loaded, I slowly slid my feet forward towards much-needed relief. Ahead, a large mirror on the wall to my right flashed off and on in the lightning. 2 more foot slides and I was in front of the mirror. Not wanting to shoot my reflection, I ensured my finger was not on the trigger and glanced sideways at it, hoping not to see Gabriella. When the lightning flashed, Gabriella was not there. Instead, the mirror showed a man standing in an alcove directly behind me, cap pulled low on his forehead, his eyes deep pools of darkness, and his jaw clenched with determination. I whirled around in total darkness, trying to blink away the bubbles of light floating in front of my eyes. My back crashed into the mirror, my foot slipped, and shattered fragments of glass dropped down the back of my neck, slicing into my back as I slid down the wall. Another flash of lightning. He was shorter than me and held a bat in both hands, poised to swing for my head. In the total darkness, I squeezed the trigger again and again. Nothing happened. A faint flash from a strike far away, and I saw the corner of his mouth twitch in amusement. The sound of wind and rain echoed down the hall. Then the lightning took a break. Sobbing, I gripped the small, worthless pistol with my right hand, holding out my other in a vain attempt to block the blow, and slid further down the wall. Nothing happened. No sound came from the man, and I snapped from fear to the rage of a cornered animal. Fumbling for my phone, I glanced down the hallway and thumbed the flashlight app. Somehow, even in my rage, I did not want to expose my position to whatever awaited me at the end of the hall. Yet the immediate danger stood over me, I pointed the flashlight upwards with my left hand, while my right hand did the same with my useless weapon. He stayed in the large alcove on the opposite wall. He was short, but powerfully built. The arms holding the bat rippled with metallic muscle. I realized that, like his century-old baseball uniform, his muscles were poured from bronze. We were separated by 6 feet of hallway, dressed in clothes a century apart, incomparable in cosmic composition. And if he had winked at me, I wouldn't have blinked. Who knew? We might become friends after an eternity. I pointed the flashlight at the Beretta. When I pulled back the slide, brass glinted. Bad round? I fingered the guard and groaned. The Beretta had been manufactured when cops were afraid of accidentally shooting someone. Forgetting to click off the safety was common enough in emergencies, and cops got killed. So, in a world where the armed person was the one at risk, that was unacceptable. The police favored Glocks, which didn't have safeties. My immortal baseball player roommate would have been perforated with at least 16 holes if I had grabbed my hidden Glock instead of Larry's backup. It was, after all, point-blank range, and to make up for cutting back on safety, Glocks came with 16-round clips, as opposed to Larry's Beretta's paltry 6-round clip. The old standard about only aiming at what you intend to kill had progressed to making sure you killed whoever you shot at. I stood and tried to shake the glass fragments from my back. Some slid down the back of my pants. When no one emerged from the glowing room at the end of the hall to hurtle down the long, dark passage, I dropped my pants and brushed myself off. Holding the flashlight in one hand and the Beretta in the other, I started back down the hallway. The light was coming from beneath the baseboard along the far wall of the bedroom. While it was intriguing, I had a more urgent need that required walking across a bedroom with more furniture than I'd owned in my entire life. I found the bathroom, but had to continue to search for the toilet. Another first for me. In my world, in places where real people live, they are in plain sight. I turned on my light and went exploring. The only thing in plain sight was a hot tub the size of a small swimming pool. I stood transfixed, absorbing it all through a series of lightning flashes. The tub, the large screen TV, and a refrigerator. A refrigerator? The white marble counter with glimmering golden veins was on my left side and had 4 sinks of 2 kinds, another mystery to solve later. Halfway down on the right was a room that flashed with each lightning strike. As I passed the room, I saw the light coming through frosted windows high on the wall across the room. A wooden bench with clothing hooks and towel racks ran along a wall. I quickly looked inside to see an arched entry to a room with rain shower heads on the ceiling. Wall-mounted shower heads at different heights along 2 walls, and, best of all, wood benches. Maybe eternity wasn't going to be so bad after all. Duty still called, so I walked towards the pool and, to my relief, discovered a toilet room. I was sure Gabriella had never shown one of these to me. Either it was one of the few things of the rich and famous that Gabriella didn't care for, or the Driscoll guy was a genius. I chuckled to myself that the rich are crazy and chose a seat. Shining my light around, I discovered I could also choose a channel on the TV when the power came back on. Until then, it was nothing more than a dark, unbelievably comfortable cave. I panned through the news and gossip on my phone until my legs fell asleep. I stumbled out on feet that couldn't feel the floor. As I stumbled by the shower room, one foot awoke, throwing me off balance. I grabbed the counter for support and looked into the mirror without thinking. Nothing. Then a flash of light, and I noticed a piece of paper taped to the mirror down the counter a couple of feet. I moved my light beam and stepped over to read it. Lightning flashed again, and I forgot about the piece of paper. In the mirror, a slender white arm reached out from inside the shower door and motioned for me. It had to be Gabriella. She knew how much I loved showers. I turned slowly around, shining light into the entrance to the shower room. I turned the light back on the mirror to find Gabriella. All it showed was me with my back to a dark room and eyes squeezed to slits as though I were being interrogated. The arm was not there, and a chill washed through the room. I remembered Riley talking about the same thing. Had I really seen an arm in the mirror? Was it Gabriella? Someone hiding in the shower room? Or was I going mad? Tired of being afraid, I pulled my courage, Larry's pistol, from my hip pocket. As I stepped into the cold shower room entrance, A hand reached out to caress my face. Without thinking, I slapped the hand away with the hand holding my light. She pivoted lightly around, her long blonde hair flowing out, brushing my face, her light blue eyes flashing for an instant in the beam of my light. As she completed her pivot, her hand started to close on the pistol barrel. She lunged toward me when I jerked the gun back. I stumbled backward onto the bench along the wall and felt the automatic kick in my hand. The sound of the shot echoed off the tiled wall. Lightning flashed through the high windows, and air bubbled from a bare breast. I dropped the pistol, fell to my knees, and held her in my arms as she deflated. When it was over, I leaned back against the hard bench seat, unsure what to do. Much later, after the last storm cell passed, I gently folded her into a neat square and headed to the bedroom. On my way out, I stopped by the mirror and read what was on the piece of paper. Larry, welcome to Denver. Surprise!